brilliant art class. And I'm really glad that you come here and not, you know, started off doing, you know, wee little delicate watercolours, because I think that actually a lot of art education is miseducation. So you'll find with me that I may have a different take on how to look at art. And I think this way of starting actually is quite interesting. So whether you're a seasoned artist or you've never ever done an art lesson before, I think everybody can start in at this level in terms of abstracts. So I think that should be quite interesting for you, and perhaps a good place to start, because you're not worried about getting creating. So I always think this is an interesting way of looking at the process of art. You could be an artist designer, so you can have an idea, a concept, you've got a photograph that you want to paint, or an idea that you visualised in your mind's eye, and you've got to work from A to B to visualise that. To me, that's quite boring. Because, and I did it for many years, because I went through the same art education process that most people do, but I knocked it out of me over those years. So I would say now I'm more of a creative artist. I do a lot of allowing, and eventually I get to an end product. So my journey is the exciting part of my process.
Like that.
So it's the actual spontaneity and making marks that for me is the exciting thing about being a painter, because I went towards painting as a discipline in fine art because I liked, not because I'm a very visual person, because I'm a really tactile person. I like moving paint around with tools and hands and all that sort of thing. So I like the actual act of painting. And I think that gets forgotten because most people come to an art lesson and they say, oh look, I've taken this great photo and I want to make a great painting from it. Now, very rarely is a great painting made from a great photo. They're very different disciplines. So often the photo is too complex to be translated well into a painting, or vice versa. So actually, and all they're doing then is struggling with themselves to make this product that they've visualised. And either that's really easy for you and becomes boring, or it's really, really, really difficult. It takes years and years of practice. So I hope that I'm going to come give you a process that completely opens up a new sort of fresh angle of looking at making art. So anyway, I'll tell you a little bit more about myself. I went down a fairly standard route of art education. I did art A-level and a fashion textile A-level. Then I went to Kingston University. I did a foundation where you've got to try everything. I'm sure you know what a foundation course is. I did specialise in fashion, but I found it absolutely disgusting, repugnant, hated it after a while, mainly because of the type of people I was working with. That's awful. And a sweeping statement, because I'm sure there's some lovely fashion designers out there, but I found it really, really difficult. So I took some time out and decided, yes, the painting was my thing. So I got into St Martin's. I did BA Fine Art and I painted. And by the end of it, I was making really large, sort of monumental pieces of tiny little fragments of ephemera that goes unnoticed into these great big monuments that confront you in the gallery space. So then things sort of started to pick up for me. I sold to Sainsbury's, I sold to a few other big collections. I got a gallery on board. I started selling and doing quite well really in sort of the East London scene at the time, so it was quite a while ago. Anyway, the crash of 2008 really helped me change direction because it sort of forced me into teaching, and I would say that changed my life forever. So I started working with Winsor & Newton and Liquitex, and I started helping them in like on a consultant basis with how paint worked and how artists wanted paint to work. So I'd work with the marketing people and the scientists in the lab, help them develop paint. So for many, many years, I've had such a I would say like 2 PhDs worth of paint technology in my professional working life. So I teach paint technology and I've lectured it at degree level as well. But then in 2014, I decided to start an art school. I started an art school in Surrey that's still running, so I do commute back to Surrey a couple of times a month to teach my students. I have like 130 students there. Obviously people dip in and dip out, but it's all really with that contemporary abstract focus because there's not many teachers who teach that. And so that's what I've done professionally, and then in my own practice, so all that time I've been working as a teacher, I've kept up my own practice as an artist, and I make work within an environment, and I'd love to show you some of my stuff in a second, but I tend to take the canvases, I don't have them on the stretchers, I take them out into the environment, be it the beach or a meadow or a wood, and I use different things from the environment to apply the paint. Sometimes I leave the painting in the rain, I use sea water on the painting, sand or found objects, twigs to make marks, sand within the paint. And it really, my piece is abstract expressionist because I try and channel that moment in time onto the canvas. So my art's very immediate. I do, however, take those pieces back to the studio and sometimes tweak. Because I do have a studio, I don't just outside, but I do, if you have a look at any of my social media, you'll see I'm outside in all different types of weather painting. But that's my process. So let me show you some of my work actually. I think that's a good place to see what the hell I do. I don't know if any of you have actually looked at this yet or not. So I'm just going onto my own website. So it is kimoneil.net. That's KIMONEI1L. We dropped the 2 L's somewhere along the line. Anyway, these are my pieces. You can come up and have a look at them. This is me on the beach painting away. But these pieces are sort of like 120 by 120, really, really huge canvases.
Look at you.
Yeah, in the sea. There you go. That's it.
I like yours better than Kurt Jackson's.
Oh, thank you. I do as well, but don't tell him. I know Glyn Macy. Do you know the artist Glyn Macy?
No.
Do you know heard of his work? Yeah, he knows Kurt, so it's funny to think he's done so well.
Love your colours.
Yeah. Well, they're all completely informed by nature.
Beautiful.
I'm a little bit of a colourist. I do love colour, I'm quite obsessed with it and obsessed with colour theory. If you hear me going off on a tangent about colour theory, you have to rein me in sometimes.
Okay.
But colour is so important, and I think so many people know so little about colour. We could do like 12 degrees on colour. We could be here for the next 30 years thinking about colour, but hopefully I'm going to give you some really interesting information in terms of abstraction and colour. But I have a little party trick where I can see a colour like this tabletop, and my old assistant, painting assistant, used to say to, can you mix it? Of course, I can just, somehow, over the years, I've got to a point where I can put the exact ratio of the different colours out onto the palette and mix it up, and it will be the same colour. So I've really got my eye in with colour, but it's lovely to paint outside and look up at the colours and you're mixing. Sometimes I even go down to the site that I'm going to paint the day or an hour or so before, think about what I'm seeing, go back to the studio, mix great big jam jars, colour up, and then just take them back down to the site and start painting.